Welcome to the Rock Your Comeback podcast. I'm Nichole Eaton, author of the books Rock Your Soul and Rock Your Comeback, as well as an intuitive therapist, and I'm here to remind you of your power. This podcast focuses on mindset and inviting the universe in to create a life that feels so good, so aligned, and so authentic. I hope you're ready. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Rock Your Comeback podcast. I'm your host, Nichole Eaton, author of the book Rock Your Comeback and the book Rock Your Soul, and intuitive therapist. And I'm here to remind you of your power. I'm here to help you claim your comeback and step back into your power and create a life you are obsessed with. And if you're wondering why my voice sounds a little funny today, I am a little under the weather since I came back, but my body knows how to heal itself, so it won't last long. Last week, I talked about reclaiming your power with your mind and how powerful the stories that you tell yourself are. And I know it can get a little overwhelming because I'm giving you a ton of tools. The people on the internet, like people you follow, might be giving you a ton of tools. And how do we know what tools to use if there's so many options and so many ways of doing anything? And the answer comes down to this piece that I'm about to give you today. You don't have to do this process alone. You have a beautiful inner GPS, a guidance system that is guiding you and drawing you towards the things that will work best for you. And we're like taught to ignore our intuition. So if you're like, I don't feel like I have an intuition, Nichole, or I don't trust mine, that's fine and normal. Like if we think about trusting our intuition, it's a skill set. Developing your intuition is nothing more than a skill set. It's like getting your baseball swing perfect. It takes practice. It takes learning to listen to how your intuition speaks to you. And we're going to talk about that today because I think that this is the most powerful thing you can do in your comeback is begin to listen to that inner voice. Because really, when we're out of alignment, what we mean is that inner soul, that inner person we are, is not matching up with who we're being in our day-to-day life. How we're thinking and feeling is not how we're acting. And so we can get really gross feelings, really bad feelings when we ignore our intuition. And not only that, we can get really off track and we'll feel that way. Sometimes you'll have everything that you thought you wanted or everything that makes other people, proud of us, but we don't feel a certain way. So if that's you and you're like, I'm overwhelmed by all of this stuff, I got you today. This episode is for you. Okay. I'm going to teach you how to hear your intuition and also teach you that you are being divinely guided, not just by your intuition internally, but by the universe externally. And you can replace universe with whatever beliefs hold true to you. If that's, if you like to use the word God, if you like to use the word spirit, if you like to use the word Allah, like this is as you connect personally to a higher power. I'm never going to tell you what to believe in. I can tell you my beliefs and how they formed within me, but I will never sit there and tell anybody what to believe in. So don't worry. You and what you believe in is so relevant and so important, and it may or may not line up with mine, but I'm going to just share a little bit about how I think that you're being supported, okay? A lot of people ask me, like, how did you get into intuition? I'll tell you what, my basis is actually in mental health counseling. I have 3 degrees in psychology and a master's in mental health counseling with an advanced certificate, and practiced as a mental health counselor in a traditional way for a while. And what I noticed is that sitting one-on-one with people, I just was so locked in. I was so present with them that I just felt like suddenly I knew things that they weren't telling me. And at first I was like, well, you must have told me that at a different time. And they were like, I don't think I did, and it was like more than can be observed by your, natural observation. It was that I was picking up things that were bigger blocks or bigger fears, and it helped me be very good at my job. But it also was confusing to me because at the time, like growing up, I didn't believe in anything. I would say I was pretty agnostic. I didn't really understand religion. I had a lot of harsh encounters with religion over my childhood. I remember being told when I was in 3rd grade that I was going to hell because I didn't go to church. So I tell you this because I want you to know that I was the most skeptical of the process that I'm teaching you today. I, at one point, was the most skeptical. So it has taken a lot of repeated evidence of the universe for me to be talking so confidently about it. And at this point, you would never talk me out of it. Never. You couldn't. There's so many things that I've known had happened, or amazing things that have happened for me, to me, with me, that are unexplainable. And so for me, that stands firm and strong. I believe in a higher power, and it's not because I was fed it as a kid. It wasn't because I just found Jesus at like a random age. Like, it wasn't any of that. It took repeated things that came into my experience, repeated it, trusting my intuition, that it just kept proving itself to me. So I like to say, I didn't find God, God found me. So I'm in these sessions with people. I'm learning, like I'm intuitively picking up all this information. And at the time, I didn't really know what that was. So I went and I asked my boss, and I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I feel like I'm knowing things. I feel like I just know things about people. And I was always entertained by psychics, but I just thought it was kind of like fake entertainment. So I started to read. I read every book on intuition. I read every book on spirituality. I read every book, religious texts. I won't say I read them all the way through, but I definitely read every, because I just wanted to know. I'm like, what is this? Why is this happening to me? Why are these unexplainable experiences happening? Why am I, able to kind of see into people's energy fields and even see auras and colors around people? Like, what the fuck is going on is really where I was at. And so I got into this place where it was curiosity, really. Intuition opened up because of curiosity. And so I went and studied intuition with a psychic medium in Buffalo. And I felt just super drawn, and there were classes, and I took Zoom classes, and I went to Buffalo and took real classes. And I remember this one particular experience, and her view on teaching intuition was that everybody had it, and that you could hear it through different ways. Everybody had kind of like your five senses. It's your five like intuitive senses, right? They call them clairs. And there's clairsentience, which is clear feeling, like feeling, feeling sad if somebody's sad, feeling, knowing if someone's not okay, even if you're not with them, or clairaudience, of clear hearing, like feeling like you can hear things, and this isn't like paranoia, so like that gets confused for a lot of people, but this is like hearing a song and having it be relevant to your life that you weren't even thinking about. But there's also clairvoyance, which is clear seeing. I mean, seeing pictures in your head, watching scenes play out before they do in real life. There's claircognizance, which is my main clair. I'm very just clear knowing. I don't always know. I always say like, I'm seeing this for you, but it really comes down to, I just know. I don't know where it's coming from. But I just know this for you. I know in my gut, I know in my heart, I know in my spirit that this is true for you. And so there's all these clairs, there's all these different ways that you might be experiencing your intuition. You might even just be feeling pulled towards things. Like you might just see things on repeat that are like a message for you, whether that's song lyrics or quotes on the internet, or just keeps showing up, or podcasts that you listen to regularly. Like the theme keeps repeating. So our intuition is going into overdrive, trying to speak to us at all time, because it's trying to get us back on track. It's trying to amplify that inner voice. And so I went to train with this woman, and I started to listen to my inner voice. And there was a moment in time where we did this exercise, and I'll never forget it. She blindfolded us. This is going to sound really cult-like and creepy, but hang with me, because this was a pivotal moment where I was like, I'm not making this up. And because it does, intuition kind of feels like you're making it up, because we are taught to use our logical brain, but there is a beautiful marriage between logic and intuition. It's all important. I would never just live from my intuitive side. Logic has a place, but finding the balance between the two is where you really thrive and really live in a good place. So I'm in this room, I'm blindfolded, and how this is going is this is kind of like the final, right, for this intuitive experiences. I'm blindfolded, and people would come in and stand directly behind me, and I have my blindfold on. And I would just have to pick up any energy I was feeling, anything about their personal life, anything about themselves, anything I was feeling. And they would either touch my right shoulder if it was correct or my left shoulder if it was wrong. And I remember I was just so in the moment. I was just so aware. I was just feeling so on it and intuitive, and I could see everything clearly and feel everything clearly. And I remember having this one person, and I remember just telling them information, and I just started, everything was, the right shoulder tap. It was correct. It was correct. And I remember hearing this person start sobbing, and I'm like, oh God, like, what did I do? What did I say? And I just remember having this conversation with this person after, and they're like, you picked up my biggest fears, my biggest blocks, and gave them back to me in a way that I didn't realize they were impeding me. And now I feel like I can move forward. And I was like, yeah, this is my life purpose. And I just knew that I had to find a way to marry therapy and intuition. And so that's how I'm an intuitive therapist, is I feel and can read energy. And I teach other people how to not feel and read other people's energy, because there's use to that. But I think at the end of the day, like, we still have to have our own beliefs, and we still have to use our own intuition, and our intuition will trump whatever anybody else's intuition tells us. So I teach people how to trust themselves inherently. That's really what it comes down to. When it comes to your intuition, it's about trusting yourself. It's about stepping into your power, is about knowing you are somebody you can trust, and your intuition is correct, and you can trust it to guide you, and you can trust it to help you take the next step in your life. And so I know this all sounds really fucking crazy. Like, I'm well aware of it. And I think that's like what keeps me grounded in all of this, is like, I'm aware it sounds bananas, but I'm also somebody who was super skeptical going in, and I needed proof, and I got it. And so obviously this intuition path also led me to understanding, like, okay, so if I can read energy, energy exists. Why does it exist? In what ways does it exist? If I can read energy and I can do it without any, like, seeing anything, if I can do it with my eyes closed, completely blindfolded, with no verbal communication back and forth with a person, like, what does that mean about God? What does that mean about a higher power? I stepped into this phase of just wanting to understand, and I started meditating, and I started just feeling into texts and books that made sense to me and resonated. And if anybody is curious, I love the book by Spirited by Rebecca Rosen. It was a huge help when I was understanding my intuition. And if you're somebody who's very intuitive and you don't know how to wrangle it and you don't know how to understand it, it's a great book. So I highly, highly recommend that one. And it just helped me understand my intuition in a different way. And so I started reading more texts that helped me understand my intuition, but also helped me gather ideas of what the universe meant to me. And again, I can't tell you what it means for you. And I can't say that your beliefs are good, bad, or otherwise. I don't care. Whatever works for you. But what I know of the universe is that it's a loving energy, and that I believe we're part of the universe. I believe we are that loving energy when we're at our best, when we are most authentic to ourselves, that we are this beautiful, loving spirit. And I believe that we are the energy that creates worlds, which is why I am so diehard about manifestation, because I do believe that we are connected to a beautiful higher power that wants good things for us, that wants us to trust ourselves. We have that inner guidance system, and it all culminates to connecting the energy and the thoughts together. And what a powerful place to be. What a powerful place to be, to remember that you are an extension of the power that creates worlds, that you are just this loving being, that at the source of everything, you have the power to change your life because you have the power that creates worlds inside of you. And that was the most, like, profound thing that I had ever experienced, thought of, and felt. And one of my favorite things about talking about the universe, and even with people who don't believe in anything, even with people who don't believe in God, they don't have a religion, they don't whatever, there is a part of the brain, and there's a group of researchers called neotheologists, and there's a part of the brain that actually is hardwired to recognize God. And whatever word you're using, I don't care, I'm not going to tell you, but there is a group of people who study the brain and how talking about the universe resonates to some extent with most people. And even when they're, like, resistant, even when they're in a hard place, even when they, had abusive relationships with religious experiences in the past, which is a total thing. Even with that stuff in mind, there is still something that gets sparked inside of people when talking about it. And I've watched this happen in my practice because, again, I will never push a religion or any belief onto people. This is just solely what I believe based on my personal experiences and the studies that I've done and the books I've read. There's something in us that recognizes that we are a spark, that we are a little ball of light. One of my favorite energy clearing techniques is to pour white light over myself, over people. If people feel that shift, like if there's nothing, then why feel that shift? And here's my take on it right now, right? Is that you don't have to believe in anything, but at least believe in a better version of yourself. At least believe that there's an authentic version of it. Like you still have a soul. There's still something that happens when people die and you don't weigh any different and you don't, your body is still there, but you can tell when something is dead because the soul is gone. So I just want to pose this to you that you are a co-creator of the universe. You are a beautiful light energy. And when you're authentic, things feel easier. When you are yourself, things feel easier. When you trust and you put in your work and begin to listen to yourself, things feel easier. That's alignment. That's all alignment is when our thoughts and our feelings and our actions match up. But when they originate from our internal GPS, from our intuition, it's even better. It's even quicker. It's even faster. It even feels so fucking good. And that's exciting. That's exciting to know that we have all of that at our fingertips, that we can remember who the fuck we are, remember that we are source energy, and use it accordingly throughout our day to not forget our power, not play victim to our circumstances, and to step the fuck up into our life and to make massive, exciting changes from a powerful place of knowing we're worth it, knowing we're loved, knowing we're good, knowing we're inherently good, knowing that if we're making decisions from our gut, from our soul, from our heart, that we can be on path to live a powerful existence. And I think that's so exciting. What I'm really saying is that your comeback's not just up to you. No, it's not. It is a culmination process between you and your personal connection with God, between you and your intuition. And I'm going to teach you in this entire podcast, so I hope you subscribe, how to really hear your intuition, how to begin to trust it. But I wanted to explain to you why I'm so passionate about it, because everyone's like, intuitive therapist, what the fuck does that mean? And the reality is that it just means that we combine the importance of mental health and the importance of beliefs and the importance of the stories we tell ourselves alongside of energy and intuition and manifestation, and all of those things culminate together to make healing not only last, but have a longevity. And that's like one of the most incredible things that I think this work does, is that it helps people feel powerful to make choices in their life, to better their life, to improve things in their life, to feel confident and feel like, the universe has your back. Like there is so much power in knowing that and in feeling that. And so it's a really incredible place to be when you feel supported by the universe. And I don't always feel supported. I have to do things intentionally throughout my day to ensure I feel supported. One of those is the Course in Miracles. I read that. I open it. I just open it. That's all I do. Whenever I'm talking about the Course in Miracles, it's a big, heavy, thick ass book, kind of similar to Bible structure, worded, also similarly in the way it's worded. However, I literally just open it every day and just see where my eyes get pulled. And that's a really fun little practice that you can start doing. Not with the Course in Miracles. You can pick up any book, open it to a page, and just see where your eyes get pulled. And that's an intuition practice. And you just write it down. You just write it down and you see where it resonates with yourself or throughout your day. You just write it down. That is one of the most easy ways to start trusting your intuition, is when you get a gut feeling, when you get a knowing, when you have a vision, when you hear a repeated message, that you just write it down. You just say, hey, I'm listening. Please give me more. I'm listening and I'm wanting to trust this. And so when I was starting to develop my intuition, that was my biggest practice, is I just had a note section in my phone. And every time I got an intuitive nudge about myself or about other people or about whatever, that I just wrote it down. I just wrote it down. And then you have proof. This is all we're developing, is proof that you can trust yourself, proof that intuition is real, proof that the universe is supporting you. And the one thing I'll say is that when I first started to understand the universe or understand a higher power, I used it in desperate moments. I used it out of fear. I used it out of desperation. I used it out of like, I need help. Like I'm in the pit of it and I need assistance. And so what I'll tell you is that access this connection every day if you can. Remind yourself of who you are. Have a meditation practice. Have something where you can plug into the reminder that you're not alone on this journey. Invite in that knowing or that higher power while you're doing your day to day. I did it before I jumped on this podcast. I said, tell me what I need to say right now. Like, help me reach people, help them understand my journey. What will you have me say? And so I invite God in a lot to my day, not just in desperation. I invite him in for the journey, and we have free will and we have to trust ourselves. Again, we're marrying intuition and logic, and we have free will. So we also have to remember that when we're feeling stuck, it's a perfect time to surrender that up and say, okay, show me what I need to know about this. How can I help myself do better? What do I need to be doing right now? And we stop for a second, we pause, we take a deep breath, and we invite the universe in. We invite God in to help us. You send up a prayer, you set an intention. That's one of my favorite things, is that across most religions, it's used to explain the miracles and the madness, but it's also as a common action of prayer. And affirmation is prayer. Intention setting is prayer. It's just a different form. I always pray thankfully. When I need a little help, I'll pose a question. What would you have me do? What would you have me say? How can I be of best and highest service today? What am I missing here? I'll just pose a question and I'll anticipate that the universe helps straighten that out for me throughout the day or helps me see things from a different perspective. But intention and affirmations are prayer. It's a really powerful tool to have in your back pocket. This is a really cool experience if you let it be. And again, I won't push anything on anybody. It's not my place. But if it resonates with you, then I'll show you the magic in the world, because the world is very magical. And some people refuse to see it. They don't want anything to do with it. But for people who choose to embrace it, it's a whole different way of living. It's a powerful, fun way of living. That is my story. That is part of my story. Our next episode will be talking about how do we marry energy and thoughts into manifestation, and why does that matter, and what does that mean? And how do we trust our intuition to guide us into action? Because manifestation is not a stagnant thought. It has action to it. So I hope you subscribe. I would love if you'd leave me a positive review. And in the meantime, I will catch you next week with an episode on manifestation before we dive into some comeback stories. So thanks again for listening, and I hope you guys have a great week. Make sure to keep an eye out for my latest book, Rock Your Comeback, The Down-to-Earth Guide to Reclaiming Your Power, out this summer. I'd love to connect with you. Make sure to follow me on Instagram or TikTok at NicholeEaton.xo. Thanks for listening to the Rock Your Comeback podcast. I hope you're feeling inspired, motivated, and ready to take on the world. Now go step back into your power. The world's been waiting for you. But first, if you could, leave me a review or share with a friend. Thank you.